Hey guys, let's get more news about Warriors, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Joe Lacob sends strong message to Klay Thompson after leaving Warriors. Golden State Warriors owner Joe Lacob was teary-eyed when discussing the departure of Klay Thompson, a franchise icon, to join conference rival Dallas Mavericks. But despite being overcome by emotions, Lacob's competitive fire still naturally came out. "I don't care what people think happened, or didn't happen," Lacob said on The Athletic NBA show on July 17. "He will always be welcome in my life. I hope he feels the same. Honestly, I get a little teary-eyed about it. I hope we're going to be friends forever. And he's just going to be in Dallas for a few years and we'll have to kick his ass. But that's just the job. And I'm sure he feels the same way. That's called competition." Thompson left for the Mavericks via sign-and trade with the help of the Warriors to get more than the mid-level exception. Still, the 3-year, $50 million deal he signed with the Mavericks, per ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski, was less in annual average salary than the Warriors' initial offer last offseason, which he declined. Last season's extension talks eroded Thompson's relationship with the Warriors, which led to his tumultuous final season with the franchise. According to NBA insider Mark Stein, Thompson felt disrespected as the Warriors only offered him half of what Draymond Green received. Thompson was offered a 2-year extension in the $50 million range by the Warriors before last season, but passed on that pitch and is said to have come away from the offer feeling disrespected mere months after Green was re-signed to a 4-year, $100 million pact, Stein wrote in his Substack newsletter on June 29. Thompson's exit signaled the end of an era that defined the last 10 years of the NBA. Thompson was part of the fabric, along with Stephen Curry and Green, of the Warriors dynasty that won 4 NBA championships. Bob Myers used to say this all the time. He'd say, "It never ends well," Lacob said. "It's just unfortunate business. It's just the way it is, and things get in the way and circumstances prevail. And so it's a very difficult process." His injury, the coming back from the injury, which he didn't play for 2.5 of the 5-year contract and finally came back and really worked hard to get there. "All I can tell you is we love him. We're going to build a statue for this guy without question, obviously, when they're all retired." Myers, the Warriors' former general manager, stepped down last year, citing he could no longer give his everything to the team as the reason. But he also knew the end was nearing and he did not want to be the one who would break up the team that he built. Thompson left miserable in his declining role with the Warriors, according to an ESPN report. 5 Warriors backup plans if Lauri Markkanen trade falls through. The Golden State Warriors want Lauri Markkanen. It's the worst-kept secret in the NBA. The Utah Jazz, however, won't part with the 27-year-old unless a certain price threshold is met. Golden State has the draft picks to entice Danny Ainge, but it's unclear which members of the Warriors' young core are truly available. The extent to which GM Mike Dunleavy values Golden State's youth movement could determine where Markkanen spends the next 5 years of his career. All signs point to Warriors sophomore Brandon Podziemski as the hinge upon which these trade negotiations rest. The Jazz desire Podziemski as the centerpiece of the deal, while the Warriors consider the 21-year-old an organizational favorite with too much upside to involve in a deal. "We are at an impasse as a result. Impasses break, eventually. There's a decent chance the Jazz lower their asking price or the Warriors acquiesce, probably the latter. Markkanen is a tremendous talent, but at 27, he doesn't necessarily fit the youth movement Utah is equipped for. The Warriors, on the other hand, are under pressure to maximize the final years of prime Stephen Curry and semi-prime Draymond Green. Podziemski is a winning player already, but he's not on the same level as Markkanen. The latter moves the needle for a team in need of a sizable leap forward. If the Dubs can't get a Markkanen tractee across the finish line, however, there are viable alternatives on the trade market. the Warriors will struggle to land a star of that caliber, but alas, Golden State isn't too far removed from making noise in the West. Here are a few targets worth monitoring. Tobias Harris landed with the Detroit Pistons on a 2-year, $52 million contract in free agency, perhaps the most predictable and hilarious outcome imaginable, all things considered. King of securing the bag, Harris parlayed his sterling reputation as a locker room leader into a cushy new deal with the upstart Pistons. He is going to lead a young group into battle every night, make inroads in the community, and provide valuable three-point shooting on the floor. It's not the worst signing, despite the frenzied reaction from Philadelphia fans. Still, it's hard to imagine Harris finishing this contract in Detroit. The Pistons are in full-blown rebuild mode. Harris is a leader, sure, but he's not the only vet on the Pistons roster, and he's not going to transform the on-court product. Warriors urged to sign former $120 million All-Star to veteran minimum contract. The Golden State Warriors offseason has been a roller coaster, as the team lost Klay Thompson in a sign-and trade with the Dallas Mavericks. They've done their best to try to replace him, signing Buddy Hield and others, but more could be on the way. With a need to get better after finishing 10th in the Western Conference last season, Zach Buckley of Bleacher Report listed 3 minimum contracts the Warriors should pursue as late free agency steals. Buckley's list included former All-Star Gordon Hayward. While there are arguments to be made for Golden State getting younger and more athletic, those traits are seldom found in the bargain bin. What might still linger in the clearance section, though, is an overlooked veteran like Gordon Hayward, Buckley wrote on July 18. Yes, he has a frightening injury history behind him, and no, he's nowhere near the player he was at his peak. Still, the veteran swingman offers a plug-and-play blend of awareness, instincts, and the dribble-pass-shoot skill set required to have success in this system. He hasn't topped 55 games since 2018-19, but he has generally played solid ball within this stretch. His averages over the past 5 seasons include 15.4 points, 5.0 rebounds, and 3.8 assists, not to mention a tidy 47.5/38.5/82.3 shooting slash. Landing Hayward would be a risk from the Golden State Warriors side, as the now 34-year-old has dealt with multiple injuries in his career. Since the 2019-2020 season, Hayward hasn't played in more than 52 games in a year. However, when he's been on the court, outside of his past stint with the Oklahoma City Thunder, he's been an impressive player. Hayward is just 2 years removed from a season where he averaged 14.7 points and shot 47.5% from the field. In the earlier stages of his career, he was scoring 19-plus points a game and even did so again in the 2020-21 season when he averaged 19.6 per game. Hayward was good enough to sign a 4-year, $120 million deal in 2020. The contract didn't go as planned due to his injuries, but it shows the type of player he was at one point in his career. The Warriors would have to hope that he could return to that form. Hayward, at this point in his career, would likely be someone who comes off the bench for the Golden State Warriors. However, the Warriors could use his playmaking in the second unit, as they were even urged to trade for him in December of 2023 before the trade deadline due to that. Sam Vecenie of The Athletic listed landing spots for the top trade targets during the 2023-24 season, which included Hayward. He named the Warriors as one of 2 best fits. For his part, Hayward has been a useful secondary playmaker on offense this season while rarely turning the ball over. His shooting has bizarrely fallen off across the map, though, and he hasn't been anything to write home about on defense, either, Vecenie wrote. With a bench unit that could feature Hield, DeAnthony Melton, and others who can shoot the basketball at an above-average level, Hayward could add valuable minutes in that scenario. For a veteran minimum, the Warriors wouldn't have to worry too much about it not working out. If it does, that'd be an added bonus. And you, fan? What do you think of the situation of Gordon Hayward? Leave your opinion in the comments.